Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The verdict that broke him. The courtroom smelled like old carpet and sweat. That kind of sour, recycled air that stuck in your throat. Travis Cole stood still, boots planted like he was back in formation, hands behind his back, jaw tight. The judge was reading from a stack of papers, but the words felt distant, like thunder rolling over hills he could no longer see. To his right, Riley sat with her legs crossed and face blank, too blank. Like she had rehearsed this moment. Her lawyer, a sharp-jawed man in a $1,000 suit, kept glancing her way like he had just scored a win. Given the testimony and concerns raised about Mr. Cole's psychological history, the judge said, "This court finds temporary sole custody in favor of the mother." Travis blinked. He did not flinch, but inside, something snapped. Not loudly, not like glass, more like the quiet crack of a bone breaking clean. He turned his head slowly, locking eyes with Riley. She would not meet his gaze. She looked at the floor, one hand gently tapping her thigh, like it was just another Tuesday. Behind them, a small rustle. His daughter, Marley, sitting next to a social worker, clutched a sketchbook in her lap. She had drawn a picture earlier, the three of them holding hands under a crooked sun. Now, she looked down at it, lips pressed tight. No one asked Travis how he felt. No one cared that he had spent years in sand and fire defending people who never knew his name. Now, in his own country, in front of people who should have seen the truth, he was being erased. But he said nothing. He nodded once. "Yes, Your Honor." As he walked out of the courtroom, someone said his name. Soft, almost like a whisper. He turned his head just enough to see Marley looking at him, and then down at something in her hand. A folded envelope. A letter. He had never seen it before. And right then, in that quiet moment full of humiliation and confusion, one thought buried itself deep in his mind. What if that letter changes everything? Wait, can I share something personal with you? You've made it this far into the video, which tells me something powerful. You're actually enjoying this story. But here's what's crazy. Many of you watch, feel every twist, every emotion, but forget to hit subscribe. I've set a dream goal, 10,000 subscribers. It's bold. It's big. And you, yes, you watching right now can help make it happen. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss the next plot twist, the next betrayal, the next karma-filled revenge. So here it is. This is the moment. Tap subscribe. Turn on the bell. Be part of the journey. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, I've got something special waiting just for you. Now, let's dive back into the story. The flags were still up when Travis came home. Red, white, and blue banners hung from mailboxes. A neighbor had tied balloons to his fence. "Welcome home, Sergeant Cole," written in shaky handwriting. The grill was on. People smiled too much, patted him on the back too hard. He kept hearing the same thing. "You made it back, man. Riley must be over the moon. She waited for you, huh?" That is rare these days. She had waited, but something in her eyes told him she had not been alone. Riley had stood at the door in a white sundress, hair curled just right, perfume sweet and familiar. But her hug had been careful, controlled. Her lips touched his cheek, not his mouth, and her smile was too even. He had learned to read people overseas. Fear, guilt, deceit. They had body language, patterns. Riley was blinking too often, and she kept touching her neck. It was small, but once seen, it could not be unseen. That first night, he could not sleep. The mattress felt different, too soft. The pillows smelled like lavender, Riley's favorite scent, but also something else. A cologne he did not recognize. She said she had been working more. Busy. Tired. They barely touched. When he unpacked his duffel, he found his letters. All of them. Unopened. Still rubber-banded together. Things got overwhelming, she said. It was hard, with Marley and everything. He nodded. Did not argue. He never mentioned the second toothbrush in the guest bathroom, or the new bottle of whiskey under the sink, or the voice he had heard late at night when she thought he was asleep. He was not ready. Not yet. Instead, he kissed his daughter's forehead, stared at the ceiling until dawn, and started counting backwards from 100, the way they taught him to do under fire. He was not sure what war he had come home to, but he could feel it. It had already started. Travis started watching her like he was still on recon. From behind his coffee cup, through the hallway mirror, in the spaces between conversations. She laughed louder now, especially at her phone. At dinner, she angled the screen away from him, fingers flying. One night, she left it face down, screen still glowing. When he asked if something was funny, she smiled a little too wide and said, "Just a meme from Kayla." But Kayla lived out of state, and Kayla did not text at 1:18 in the morning. "Babe, you were being paranoid," Riley said once, after he asked if everything was all right between them. She reached out, touched his arm lightly. "You just got back. Things are weird." "That is normal, right?" He watched her eyes, wide, unblinking, too fast on the apology. He nodded. "Sure. Normal." Travis had once spotted an IED by noticing a patch of dirt that looked off. Just a subtle difference in how the dust had settled. He knew how to be still, how to wait. So he waited. He checked the phone bill. Numbers he did not recognize. Repeating daily. He watched her delete texts. He noticed the change in perfume. The way she left work earlier. Came home later. Always smiling. Always tired. One night, when she was in the shower, Marley wandered into the room holding something. "Daddy, who is Zane?" His heart stopped. "What?" Marley pointed to a note. "Mommy said to give this to Zane if he stops by." Travis took it. White paper. Neat handwriting. Folded twice. He stared at it, but did not open it. Not yet. Instead, he kissed Marley on the forehead and tucked her in. Then he went to the kitchen, turned off the light, and sat alone in the dark. The war was not over. It had only just begun. The first time Travis heard it, he thought it was the wind. A low whisper. Then a giggle. The hallway light was off, but the underglow from the bathroom cast a thin line across the floor. Riley's voice came through, hushed, rushed, nervous. Then a man's voice answered. Confident. Too familiar for someone who should not have been in their home. Travis stood still at the corner of the hallway, breathing slow. Years in the field had trained him to move without making a sound. His hand rested against the wall, fingers tightening as he leaned forward, just slightly. He could hear her laughing now. Flirting. One word clear as glass. Zane. He did not burst in. He did not scream. He turned slowly, walked back to the kitchen, and opened the drawer. Inside, the cheap flip phone. Riley's old backup. She had tossed it there months ago after switching plans. He opened it anyway. There were no texts saved, but there were photos. Cached. One showed Riley in the mirror. Lingerie. A tattooed hand on her hip, not his. He snapped the phone shut and stared at the counter. The grain of the wood blurred. His fists trembled, not from rage, but from restraint. Later, in bed, Riley slipped in beside him like nothing had happened. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded. "Just tired." She curled up beside him. Too close. Too casual. Travis kept his eyes on the ceiling, heartbeat echoing in his ears. His wife was cheating, and she thought he would never know. But the thing about war? The enemy always thinks they're hidden, until the shot is already lined up. 2 nights later, Travis waited until Riley left for her book club. She kissed his cheek before going, said she would be home late. Her smile was thin, the kind people wear when they are lying but want it to feel like truth. He watched her car disappear down the street. Then he picked up her laptop. The password was her sister's birthday. She had used it before. He logged in, hands steady. The browser history had been cleared. But the tabs, one was still open in a minimized window. Zane Holloway, construction consultant business profile. Photo included. Travis stared at the screen. He recognized the jawline. Same man from the photo on the backup phone. He dug deeper. Emails. Messages. Calendar events. She had used code names, initials, but the pattern was there. Every Tuesday and Friday night, meetings. Dinner invoices. One from a hotel 2 towns over. He copied everything to a flash drive. Then he clicked on the trash bin. A recently deleted video popped up. No sound, just a clip of Riley, alone, holding her phone at an angle, laughing. "Hey baby," she mouthed silently. He is home now, but clueless. She blew a kiss to the camera. Travis exhaled slowly, jaw locked so tight his molars ached. He deleted nothing. He closed the laptop and placed it exactly where it was. Then he picked up a notepad and started writing. Times. Dates. Proof. If she was going to turn this into war, then fine. He was trained for war. But not even in combat had he ever felt this betrayed. The first time Travis saw Zane in person was outside a gas station on a Wednesday afternoon. Zane stood at pump 4, leaning against his black truck, phone in hand, grinning like he owned the world. The same tattooed arm. Same confident slouch. Same face from the photo. Riley had said she was working late. Travis parked across the lot. He did not approach. Not yet. He just watched. Zane was texting Travis knew who. Then the man turned, laughing to someone on the phone. Yeah, she is totally playing him. He does not suspect a thing. Travis felt his hands tightening around the steering wheel. His throat burned. But still, he did not move. Not until Zane hung up and drove off. Back home, Travis opened a private browser and searched again. Found the company. Found the address. Found Zane's social media full of gym selfies, cars, bar nights. Riley had liked nearly every post. But the part that made his blood chill? Photos with Marley. One was from weeks ago. Zane holding Marley at a park, smiling. Like he was family. Travis sat still, body rigid. Fingers curling slowly into fists. He had missed that visit. Riley said it was just a play date with another mom friend. She had brought that man near his daughter. He closed the laptop. He walked into the garage and turned off the light. Sat in the dark. Same as before. Only this time, he was not confused. He knew what was happening now. The question was no longer if there was betrayal. The question was, how far had it already gone? Travis woke before sunrise, the world outside still wrapped in a cold mist. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that rotted from the inside out. Riley was already up. He heard her light footsteps moving down the hall, the kettle whistling faintly in the kitchen. She was humming. Off-key. Too bright for someone who should have been tired after working late. He stayed in bed a moment longer, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily overhead. A heavy knot sat low in his gut, a mix of betrayal and calculation. Every instinct in him screamed to confront her, to end this farce. But instincts got men killed. Planning saved them. When he finally rose and entered the kitchen, Riley was bent over her phone, thumbs moving fast. She snapped the screen off the second she noticed him. "Morning," she said, too cheerful. Her hair was still damp from the shower. A hint of cologne, not hers, clung faintly in the air. Travis nodded. "Morning." He poured himself a coffee, feeling her eyes on him. "You have plans today?" she asked casually, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Just errands. Maybe we can do dinner tonight," she offered. "Family night." Travis took a slow sip, studying her over the rim of his mug. Her smile was just a little too wide, too eager. A smile trying to stitch together something already torn apart. "Sure," he said. "Family night sounds good." He smiled back, and in that moment, he knew he had to be patient. Not for himself. For Marley. Because if he moved too soon, if he made the wrong step, he would be the one painted as the villain. And he was not about to lose this war because he acted like a soldier when he needed to act like a ghost. Not yet. That evening, the dining table was set with more effort than usual. Riley had lit candles, a bottle of wine breathing on the counter. Marley sat between them, coloring in her workbook, oblivious to the undercurrents twisting the air. Riley served spaghetti, laughing too hard at Marley's messy fork skills. She refilled Travis' glass without asking, her hand brushing his arm like it used to. Only now, the touch felt foreign. Performed. "So," Riley said brightly, twirling pasta onto her fork, "how are you really feeling?" "Adjusting okay." Travis shrugged, forcing a casual tone. "It is an adjustment." "I bet," she said sympathetically, tilting her head. "You have been through so much. Sometimes, it can mess with your head, you know?" He set his fork down slowly, leveling his gaze at her. What are you trying to say, Riley? She blinked, faltering for a second before pasting on a smile. Nothing. Just, if you ever need to talk to someone, they say therapy can help guys like you. With things. Marley looked up, confused. Daddy is not sick. Travis reached across the table and gently brushed Marley's hair back from her face. No, sweetheart. Daddy is not sick. Riley laughed lightly, brushing it off. Of course not. I was just saying, sometimes talking helps. Travis nodded slowly. Took another bite of spaghetti he could barely taste. He knew what this was. Laying groundwork. Planting seeds. Preparing for court. When the time came, she would stand there smiling sweetly, describing him as unstable, broken, dangerous, all while hiding her own rotting secrets behind that perfect smile. He glanced at Marley, so innocent between them, trusting. His jaw tightened. He would not lose his daughter. He would not let this woman twist the truth until it strangled him. Whispers had a way of traveling faster than anything else in a small town. Travis first noticed it at the gas station when a clerk avoided his eyes. Then at the grocery store, where a woman he had known for years gave him a tight, pitying smile before ducking down an aisle. At the gym, one of his old buddies, Darren, approached him cautiously by the weights. Hey, man, Darren said, scratching the back of his neck. Listen, people are talking. Travis set the barbell down carefully. Talking about what? Darren hesitated. Riley. She has been saying things. To the ladies at the salon, mostly. About you. About your temper. My temper. Travis repeated slowly. Darren nodded grimly. Word is, she is saying you came back. Different. Like, messed up. Travis' hands curled into fists at his sides. He forced himself to breathe. She say anything else? He asked. Darren shifted uncomfortably. That you have nightmares. That you yelled at Marley once. Travis stared at him. That never happened. I know, Darren said quickly. I told her off. But, you know how gossip works. You should be careful, man. She is playing dirty. Later that night, Travis sat alone on the back porch, beer untouched beside him, the crickets loud in the humid air. He stared into the dark trees, thinking, this was not just betrayal. This was character assassination. This was war. And if Riley wanted to play dirty, he would not stoop to her level. But he would win. He would win because he knew something she had forgotten. The truth has a way of rising, no matter how deep you try to bury it. And sometimes, it rises with a vengeance. The first time Travis walked into James Holt's office, the air smelled like old leather and burnt coffee. The kind of place where dirty wars were fought with paperwork instead of bullets. James Holt was an older man, silver hair combed neatly, his suit rumpled, but his eyes sharp. He looked Travis up and down once before motioning to the chair across from his desk. Sergeant Cole, he said, voice low and even. You said you have reason to believe your wife is setting you up. Travis sat, spine straight. It is more than belief. He slid the flash drive across the table. James plugged it into his laptop, scrolling slowly through the folders, photos, emails, date-stamped receipts. His eyebrows lifted once, subtly. Solid evidence, James murmured. But evidence of infidelity does not always sway custody courts unless it impacts the child. She brought the man around my daughter without telling me, Travis said, voice tight. James tapped a finger on the desk. Now that matters. He leaned back, studying Travis like a chessboard he was just beginning to map. She is building a case against you, James said. Whispers about instability, PTSD, aggression. She wants to paint herself as the safe parent. She is lying, Travis said sharply. James nodded. I know. But court does not care what you know. It cares what you can prove. Travis looked out the office window, where the sun was just breaking through gray clouds. How do we prove it? James smiled thinly. We set a trap. For the first time in days, Travis felt something stir inside him, not hope exactly, but something sharper. Determination. If Riley wanted to play games. She had just invited a soldier to the table. The plan was simple on paper. Gather everything. Track every move. Document every inconsistency. Never react emotionally. Simple did not mean easy. At home, Riley's performance grew bolder. She kissed Travis' cheek when Marley was looking, left cutesy notes on the fridge, acted like a doting wife while sliding deeper into betrayal behind closed doors. Travis played along, smiled, nodded, let her believe she had him fooled. At night, he would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, memorizing every detail of the house, the creak in the third stair, the way the bathroom light buzzed when it flickered. He became a ghost in his own home, invisible, watchful. At the hardware store, Travis ran into an old army buddy, Mitch. They grabbed coffee at a corner booth. "She is setting you up, huh?" Mitch said, voice low. "Yeah." Mitch shook his head. "You need witnesses. People outside the house. Otherwise, it is your word against hers." Travis sipped his coffee. Already started. They talked strategy like they used to talk about clearing buildings overseas. Gather intel. Confirm targets. Execute with precision. But this was worse. Over there, enemies wore different uniforms. Here, the enemy wore the face he once loved. When Travis got home that evening, Marley was sitting on the front step, swinging her legs, a crayon clutched in one hand. "Daddy," she said brightly, "Mommy says we might move soon." Travis crouched down. "Move where, sweetheart?" Marley shrugged. She said, "Maybe to a place where you would not scare me anymore." Something cracked inside him. He fought to keep his face calm. "You are never scared of me, are you?" he asked. Marley giggled. "No, Daddy. You are my hero." He hugged her tightly, the weight of the world pressing into his shoulders. Riley was not just trying to win. She was trying to erase him. But not if he moved first. Not if he struck when she least expected it. It started small. Whispers at the school gate. Sad looks from teachers who used to smile brightly. Invitations to school events that suddenly got lost or must have been sent late. One morning, Travis stood in the principal's office after being called in for a concern. "We have heard some troubling reports," Principal Avery said carefully, folding his hands on the desk. "Concerns about your emotional stability." Travis stared at him, jaw tight. "What reports?" Principal Avery shuffled papers he did not really need to look at. A few parents mentioned hearing things. Arguments. Yelling. Travis took a slow breath. "I have never raised my voice at my daughter. Not once." "I believe you," the principal said quickly. "But perception can be damaging." Outside the glass door, Travis could see Riley standing in the parking lot, talking animatedly to another mother, hand resting dramatically over her heart. It was a campaign. A silent, poisonous campaign. When Travis got back to the truck, he gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. She was using the very thing he had survived, the nightmares, the memories, the trauma, against him, weaponizing his past to destroy his future. Later that night, over dinner, Riley casually dropped another grenade. "Marley said you got upset at school today." Travis met her gaze. Steady, cold. "I did not." She shrugged, twirling her fork in her salad. "Maybe you do not realize it. Stress sneaks up on people." He said nothing. She smiled sweetly, as if she had just made a harmless comment. But Travis knew the truth. Riley was not preparing for divorce. She was preparing for annihilation. And if she wanted war, she was going to find out exactly how well he had been trained for it. Because this time, he was not the one under fire. She was. The next morning, Travis found Marley sitting on the living room floor, hugging her knees and staring at the television without really watching it. He sat down beside her, careful to keep his voice light. "Hey, kiddo, what are you doing?" She shrugged, curling tighter into herself. Travis waited. Silence often spoke louder than questions. Finally, she said, "Mommy says you might have to go away again." Travis felt the words hit like a slow, grinding punch to the chest. He kept his voice steady. Why would she say that? Marley frowned, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. She said, "You are not safe to be around sometimes. That you might get mad and not mean to." The walls of the house seemed to press in around him, the air suddenly too thick to breathe. Travis took her small hand in his. His skin was rough, calloused. Hers was soft, trusting. "I would never hurt you," he said quietly. "Not ever. You know that, right?" Marley nodded quickly, her pigtails bouncing. I know, Daddy. You are my superhero. He smiled, but it felt hollow around the edges. Somewhere behind them, Riley's footsteps echoed down the hallway. Her voice floated into the room, sugary sweet. Marley, go get your shoes, honey. We are going shopping. Marley popped up, running for her sneakers. Riley appeared in the doorway, arms crossed casually. I heard the school might recommend a child psychologist, she said, voice dripping with fake concern. Maybe they are seeing something you are not. Travis stood slowly, his entire body tight with restraint. I think the only thing they are seeing, he said, voice low, is exactly what you want them to see. Riley's smile did not falter. If anything, it grew wider, as if she had just scored another point. But Travis knew better now. Games were won in the final minutes, and he was nowhere near finished playing. That afternoon, Riley insisted they all go out together. Family day. The words tasted sour even before she said them. At the park, Riley played the perfect mother. She laughed too loudly, clapped too eagerly when Marley climbed the jungle gym. Other parents smiled at her, the struggling single mother trying her best with a troubled husband at her side. Travis stood near the fence, watching Marley swing higher and higher, her giggles carried by the breeze. Beside him, Riley leaned in, speaking low enough that no one else could hear. You are making it so easy, she whispered. He turned his head slightly, enough to catch the glint of satisfaction in her eyes. What are you talking about? He asked evenly. She smiled, teeth flashing. Standing there, brooding, silent, looking angry. They're already wondering what you might do when you snap. Travis inhaled slowly through his nose, forcing down the boiling surge inside him. You are playing with fire, Riley, he said. She chuckled under her breath. You do not even see it. Courts love a scared mother. They eat it up. She brushed invisible dust from his shoulder, a tender motion that felt like a slap. Enjoy your time with her, she said sweetly. It is running out. She walked away without looking back, calling out to Marley with that bright, hollow cheerfulness that grated against Travis' ears. He stayed by the fence, fists buried deep in his pockets. The sun dipped lower. The wind grew colder. He watched his daughter swing back and forth, carefree for now, and made himself a promise. He would not lose her. No matter how deep Riley buried the knives in his back, he would climb out of this. And when he did, she would not even see it coming. It came on a Thursday afternoon. A call from his lawyer, James Holt. She filed a temporary restraining order, James said, voice grim, claiming you have made her feel unsafe in the home. Travis stood in the garage, staring at the oil stains on the floor as if they held answers. She says what? Travis asked, the words slow, deliberate. Claims of shouting, threatening behavior, no physical violence, but she is painting a picture. Travis closed his eyes. He could almost hear Riley's voice, soft and trembling in a courtroom, clutching Marley close, playing the part she had so carefully scripted. What does this mean for custody? He asked. James sighed heavily. It means she has the upper hand for now. Judges always err on the side of caution. We can fight it, but it is an uphill battle. Travis gripped the workbench until his knuckles went white. Do not panic, James said quickly. We will fight this. But you have to be perfect now. No mistakes. No confrontations. No raised voices. She is baiting you. Travis nodded, even though James could not see him. Perfect. Flawless. Untouchable. He hung up and stood there in the growing dark, the garage swallowing him whole. Above him, the single light bulb flickered once, twice, then steadied. He would be the man Riley said he could not be. Calm, rational, dangerous, not in the way she claimed, but in the way that mattered most. Because she was busy building lies, while Travis was busy building the truth. And when the time came, it would not just hurt her. It would destroy her. Travis had not meant to dream about the desert. But that night, after the court notice hit him like a bullet, the old images bled through, sun-scorched sand, the rattle of gunfire in the distance, the metallic taste of fear thick on his tongue. He woke gasping in the dark, sweat chilling his skin, fist clenched around the sheets. Across the room, Riley slept soundly, one arm draped lazily over her pillow. No guilt, no tension, just a woman who thought she had already won. Travis swung his legs off the bed, grounding his feet on the cold hardwood floor. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the distant hum of the refrigerator. He pulled on his sweatshirt and jeans, moving through the house like a shadow. Out back, the night was crisp, the stars sharp above him. He sat on the porch steps, breathing slow, steady. He had survived mortar shells. He had survived sandstorms that stripped the flesh raw. He would survive this. But it would not be through rage, not through violence, through patience, through precision. His phone buzzed once beside him. A text from James Holt. Private investigator is greenlit. Start gathering outside witnesses. Travis stared at the screen for a long moment, then pocketed the phone. He looked back at the house, the place that was supposed to be safe, a fortress for his family. Now it was just walls and lies. Above him, a shooting star streaked across the blackness. Blink, and it was gone. Travis did not make a wish. He made a vow. This war would not be fought on Riley's terms. It would be fought on his, and he intended to win. The private investigator's name was Cole Banks, a wiry, sharp-eyed man who smelled faintly of cheap coffee and even cheaper cigarettes. He did not waste time with small talk. She is sloppy, Banks said after the first week. Real sloppy. They met in a battered diner off Highway 12, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and the coffee tasted like burnt rubber. Travis leaned forward. What do you have? Banks slid a thick manila envelope across the table. She has been meeting him twice a week. Hotels, back roads, even your kid's playground once. Bold as hell. Travis flipped through the photos. Riley in Zane's truck. Riley kissing him outside a motel. Riley handing Marley a balloon while Zane loomed close by. Every image twisted like a knife in his gut. But he swallowed the pain. What else? Travis asked. Banks grinned thinly. Got audio, too. Her and Loverboy talking about you. How she is playing the court, making you look unstable. Travis closed the envelope carefully, locking it away in his mind as much as in his hands. She talked about setting me up? Banks nodded. Yeah, real charming stuff. Said if you slip up just once, you're cooked. Travis breathed out slow. Not rage. Not yet. Keep the pressure on, Travis said. Document everything. Banks tapped the side of his nose. Already ahead of you, soldier. As Travis left the diner, the first drops of rain started to fall cold, sharp against his skin. It felt fitting. Storms were coming. And this time, he would not be the one caught unprepared. The recordings arrived the next evening. James Holt called first. Listen carefully, he said. We have enough to shift momentum. But you must stay invisible until the right moment. Travis nodded, even though nobody could see him. He opened the files one by one, sitting at the kitchen table under the flickering fluorescent light. Riley's voice filled the room, sugary and mocking. He is so easy to trigger, she laughed. One wrong look and the judge will believe anything. Zane's chuckle followed. Babe, with your acting, you could win an Oscar. Travis closed his eyes, fingers pressing hard against the bridge of his nose. Another recording, Riley bragging about coaching Marley. If she says he gets scary sometimes, even if it is little things, it will help. Travis' stomach twisted violently. She was using their daughter. He forced himself to listen to every second, memorizing every sick word. The anger burned white-hot under his skin, but he stayed still. Still like the desert. Still like a soldier waiting for the breach. When the final recording ended, he sat there in the quiet, breathing through the rage. This was bigger than just betrayal now. It was treason against his blood, against the bond between father and child. Travis stood slowly, the chair scraping softly across the floor. He walked to the window, looking out into the black night, the wind rattling the pane. They had set their trap, but they forgot one thing. He was better at war than either of them could ever dream. The house no longer smelled like home. Travis noticed it one evening as he unlocked the front door, the metallic click of the lock sounding too loud in the stillness. The air inside was cold and stale, thick with a tension that seeped into the walls. Riley was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy. She looked up when he entered, flashing a smile that barely reached her eyes. Hey, babe, she said lightly, stirring something in a pot. Travis nodded, setting his keys quietly on the side table. His movements were careful now, deliberate. Every interaction was measured. Every word weighed. Marley ran in from the living room, throwing her arms around his waist. "Daddy." He scooped her up, breathing in the clean, sweet scent of her hair. This was the only real thing left in this house. "Hey, superstar. How was your day?" he asked. She chattered about school, about art class, and a new friend named Ellie. Travis listened, smiling, grounding himself in her small, fierce presence. Across the kitchen, Riley watched them with a calculating gaze. "We are thinking about signing Marley up for that private school across town," she said suddenly. Travis set Marley down gently. "We." Riley shrugged, casual. "It would be better for her. Better environment." Translation: farther away from you. Travis leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. "We will talk about it. Together." A muscle jumped in Riley's jaw, but she said nothing. She just turned back to the stove, the clatter of the spoon against the pot sharper than necessary. Later that night, Travis lay awake in the dark, listening to the faint creaks of the house shifting, settling. Riley's breathing was steady, fake as everything else. This was not home anymore. It was enemy territory, and he was behind the lines, waiting for the right moment to strike. The letter started on a night when Travis could not sleep. Sitting at the kitchen table, he pulled out a yellow legal pad, the same kind he used to write field notes overseas. His pen hovered over the page for a long moment before he finally pressed it down. "Dear Marley," he stopped, swallowing hard. What could he say? How could he explain a world where mothers betrayed fathers, where lies trumped love, where innocence was something you had to protect with teeth and blood? He tapped the pen against the page. Not yet. He pushed the paper aside and picked up another, a different kind of letter. One to his lawyer. He detailed every encounter with Riley, every strange interaction at school, every passive-aggressive comment dropped like breadcrumbs. Facts. Dates. Times. No emotion. Just evidence. This was how you won battles. Not by shouting. Not by fighting on their terms. By being cold. Precise. Unshakable. The clock on the wall ticked steadily into the early hours. Travis wrote until his hand cramped, until the anger dulled into a focused blade. Outside the kitchen window, the streetlight buzzed, moths throwing themselves against the glass in a desperate dance. He understood the feeling. When he finished, he folded the letters carefully. The one for Marley he tucked into a book on the highest shelf, hidden for a day he prayed would never come. The one for James Holt he packed neatly into his file folder, ready for the next strike. Travis stood, stretching the stiffness from his shoulders. The war was about timing, and his was almost here. The courtroom smelled of floor polish and fear. Travis sat at the defendant's table, his lawyer James Holt beside him, stacks of documents spread neatly in front of them. Across the aisle, Riley sat with her attorney, legs crossed elegantly, her face composed in that perfect mask she had perfected over months. The judge, a thin, hawk-faced woman with tired eyes, entered, and everyone rose. The clatter of chairs echoed like distant gunfire. Travis stood tall, shoulders back, the way he had in countless briefings before a mission. He had faced down insurgents. He could face down this. The hearing started with formalities, custody discussions, safety concerns. Then Riley spoke. Her voice trembled, just enough to sound believable. "I am not saying he is a bad man," she said, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. "But sometimes he just gets so intense. Loud. It scares Marley." Travis kept his face blank, even as his insides boiled. "She has started having nightmares," Riley added, voice breaking beautifully. "She wakes up crying, asking if Daddy is mad at her." Travis saw a flicker of sympathy in the judge's eyes. James Holt leaned closer, whispering, "Stay calm. Our turn is coming." The judge nodded thoughtfully. "Mr. Cole, we will need to schedule a psychological evaluation." Travis nodded once. "Of course, Your Honor." No anger. No reaction. Just steady, controlled responses. He caught Riley's eyes across the courtroom. She smiled. A slow, poisonous smile. She thought she had won. But Travis knew something she did not. The truth was patient, and it was coming for her, one step at a time. It happened on a Sunday, The kind of day meant for lazy breakfast and cartoons. Travis was helping Marley with her school project at the kitchen table, gluing popsicle sticks into a wobbly replica of a lighthouse, when she paused, frowning at something in her small hands. "Daddy," she said, twisting a folded piece of paper between her fingers. He looked up. "What is that, sweetheart?" Marley hesitated, glancing down the hall where Riley's voice floated from the laundry room, singing off-key to the radio. "I found it in Mommy's drawer," Marley whispered. "It had my name on it, but it is weird." Travis set the glue stick down carefully. "Can I see it?" She nodded, slipping the paper across the table like it was something dangerous. Travis unfolded it slowly. His hands remained steady, but something cold unfurled in his chest as he read. It was not a letter to Marley. It was a letter to Zane. A raw, reckless confession. In neat, familiar handwriting, Riley had written about the plan, about how she had set Travis up, about using his military anger as a weapon in court, about winning it all once the judge believed she needed protection. It was all there. Every dirty tactic, every lie. Travis looked at Marley, who was watching him with wide, worried eyes. "Is Mommy in trouble?" she asked softly. Travis forced a smile. "You did good bringing this to me, baby. Really good." He folded the letter again, sliding it into his back pocket with care, like it was the most fragile thing in the world. The war had changed. No longer a slow, grinding battle. This was the bullet in the chamber. And now it was only a matter of when to pull the trigger. The courtroom felt different this time. Sharper. Hungrier. Travis sat straight, dressed in a tailored dark suit that made him look more like an officer than a man under siege. James Holt was at his side, face carved from stone. Across the room, Riley perched at her table like a queen awaiting her crown. The bailiff called the session to order. James stood immediately. "Your Honor, before we proceed, we have newly obtained evidence that significantly impacts the custody determination." Riley's attorney shifted uncomfortably. Riley blinked, her smile faltering for the first time in weeks. The judge adjusted her glasses. "Proceed." James walked forward, handing the folded letter in a sealed plastic evidence pouch to the clerk. This letter, written by the petitioner, Mrs. Riley Cole, outlines a premeditated plan to fabricate allegations of abuse against Mr. Cole for the purpose of gaining full custody. Riley's face drained of color. The courtroom seemed to stop breathing. The judge opened the pouch and unfolded the paper. Silence reigned as she read. Twice. Travis watched Riley. Her hands trembled slightly against the table. Her mask, the perfect, polished mask, cracked. When the judge finally looked up, her expression was pure steel. "Mrs. Cole," she said slowly, "do you wish to explain this?" Riley opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Her attorney leaned in, whispering frantically. James sat down beside Travis, lips curving into the smallest, most dangerous smile Travis had ever seen. The judge set the letter down like it weighed 1,000 pounds. This court does not tolerate manipulation of proceedings, especially where the welfare of a child is concerned. Travis did not move. He did not need to. The truth was moving for him now, and it was unstoppable. After court adjourned for the day, Travis sat in the hallway, staring at the scuffed tile floor. The adrenaline that had kept him upright in the courtroom was bleeding out, leaving him hollow and shaking. James clapped a hand on his shoulder. "You did good," he said gruffly. "Real good." Travis nodded, but his muscles felt wired too tight, like he might snap in half if he relaxed even a little. Down the hall, Riley argued furiously with her lawyer, waving her hands, her voice sharp even through the heavy door. Travis turned his head away. He did not need to see it. He had seen enough. The judge had ordered an immediate review of all testimony. Every lie Riley had spun now sat under a microscope. The next hearing would not be about him defending himself anymore. It would be about her defending the ruins she had made. Marley skipped down the hall toward him, holding a drawing she had made during recess, a smiling stick figure of Travis holding her hand under a bright, oversized sun. "Daddy, look." He crouched down, letting her throw herself into his arms. He closed his eyes, breathing her in. She was safe. She was still his. For now. "We are going to be all right, superstar," he whispered. "Promise?" she asked, looking up with those big, trusting eyes. He smiled, for real this time. "Promise." He stood, holding her hand tight as they walked out into the fading light of day, the courthouse looming behind them. The battle was not over yet, but for the first time, it felt like Travis was not fighting alone anymore. He had the truth on his side, and that was a weapon stronger than any he had ever carried into war. The letter alone was not enough. James Holt had made that clear as they sat in his dim office, the walls lined with books that smelled of old paper and war stories. "We need to nail down the chain of custody," James said, tapping the folder between them. "Where it was found. Who touched it. No cracks for her to slip through." Travis nodded slowly. "Marley found it," he said. "She handed it straight to me." James leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Good. We will have Marley's testimony if necessary, but we would rather not drag her through that." Travis' stomach twisted. He would burn the world before he let Marley get hurt any more than she already had. James slid a second file across the table. "Also," he said, "Banks found more." Travis opened the file. Inside were photographs. Zane's truck parked outside Riley's therapy sessions. Receipts from hotels billed to Riley's personal credit card. Text screenshots between her and Zane, making jokes about the stupid vet getting what he deserved. Each piece clicked into place like a rifle being assembled for battle. "How soon can we use this?" Travis asked. James smiled grimly. "Next hearing." Travis closed the file carefully. It was not just about surviving anymore. It was about winning. Not with violence, not with rage, but with the relentless, unstoppable force of the truth. They had built their story on lies. Now it was time to burn it all down. The day of the next hearing, the weather matched Travis' mood, gray, heavy, ready to break. He sat in the courtroom again, calm and steady as the proceedings began. This time, it was different. This time, James stood first. "Your Honor, we have substantial new evidence that calls into question the petitioner's credibility." The judge arched an eyebrow. "Proceed." James clicked the remote, and the courtroom screen lit up with photographs. Riley kissing Zane in a parking lot, hotel receipts, text messages full of contempt, each image hammered a nail into the coffin of Riley's case. The courtroom murmured, a ripple of shock. Riley's lawyer scrambled, objecting, but the judge overruled him with a sharp gavel strike. Travis sat still, watching Riley out of the corner of his eye. Her face drained of all color. Her hands twisted in her lap. When James played the audio clips, Riley coaching Marley, laughing about Travis, the room went cold. The judge's voice was icy when she spoke. "These are serious allegations of misconduct. Fabrication of evidence. Manipulation of a minor." Riley opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. James finished with a quiet but brutal close. "We request immediate reconsideration of custody and full investigation into Mrs. Cole's actions." The judge nodded slowly. "So ordered." The gavel came down like a gunshot. And just like that, the trap snapped shut. Outside the courthouse, Travis leaned against the cold stone wall, breathing in the raw November air. It felt cleaner somehow. Lighter. Riley stormed past him, heels clicking furiously against the concrete, her lawyer trotting behind her, hissing frantic advice. She ignored Travis completely. No threats. No smiles. Just pure, simmering rage bottled under brittle skin. James joined him a moment later, a folder tucked under his arm. "She is finished," James said quietly. "Even if she drags this out, she cannot recover from that." Travis nodded, his throat tight. Not with anger. With relief. He had fought the battle by her rules. He had gathered the evidence. He had survived every lie, every false smile, every twisted knife. And now it was her turn to answer for it all. "Stay smart," James warned. "She might still try something desperate." "I know," Travis said. He looked across the lot to where Marley stood with his sister, waving at him excitedly. She was why he had fought this hard. She was why he had endured the quiet humiliation, the rage swallowed down night after night. Travis pushed off the wall and walked toward her, each step heavier than the last. Behind him, The courthouse doors creaked closed. The sound echoed like the final slam of a prison cell. But it was not his cage. Not anymore. The day Marley took the stand, the courtroom was packed tighter than usual. Travis sat at the front, his fists clenching and unclenching under the table as his daughter, his entire world, was sworn in by the bailiff. She looked small sitting in the wide wooden chair, her feet dangling above the ground, but her back was straight, her chin lifted bravely. The judge leaned forward. "Marley, do you know the difference between telling the truth and telling a lie?" Marley nodded solemnly. "The truth is when you say what really happened. A lie is when you say something that did not. And are you ready to tell the truth today?" "Yes, ma'am," Marley said, her voice clear and sure. James rose from the table, approaching carefully, like someone approaching a wild deer, gentle and calm. "Marley, can you tell us about the letter you found?" Marley swung her legs slowly. "It was in Mommy's dresser. I thought it was for me because it had my name on it, but it was not. It was about Daddy. What did you do with it?" "I gave it to Daddy." Travis swallowed hard. James smiled warmly. "You did a very brave thing, Marley." The opposing lawyer tried to rattle her, but Marley stayed steady. Every question rolled off her like water off stone. "Did Daddy ever yell at you?" "No." "Did Daddy ever hurt you?" "Never." Her voice never wavered. At the end, as Marley stepped down, Travis caught her eye. She smiled, a real, bright smile. And in that moment, he knew. Riley had underestimated the one thing stronger than any lie she could tell. The bond between a father and his daughter. The courtroom was silent except for the judge's voice. She read from the letter slowly, each word carving deeper wounds into Riley's carefully constructed facade. "If I can get Marley to say she feels scared sometimes, the court will not take chances. I will have full custody by Christmas. Zane says it is smart to use Travis Army stuff against him. PTSD sounds scary to judges, right?" Every line felt like a hammer blow. Travis sat motionless, feeling each word burn through the oxygen in the room. Across the aisle, Riley stared down at the table, her hands trembling so badly she had to grip the edge to stay upright. When the judge finished, she set the letter down gently, her face a mask of cold fury. "This court finds Mrs. Cole's actions to be deliberate, manipulative, and abusive of the judicial process. Further proceedings regarding custody and perjury charges will be scheduled immediately." A low murmur rippled through the audience. Riley's lawyer slumped in his chair, defeated. Travis exhaled slowly, the tight band around his chest loosening for the first time in months. He did not gloat. He did not smile. He simply watched as the lies that had almost stolen his daughter unraveled completely. The judge's gavel came down hard. Court adjourned. Justice had not just been served. It had been dragged into the light, kicking and screaming. Outside the courthouse, reporters buzzed like flies. Microphones thrust forward. Cameras flashing. "Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole." Any comment? Travis shielded Marley with his body, moving steadily toward his truck. James ran interference, blocking the most aggressive reporters. Behind them, Riley stumbled out of the courthouse doors. The cameras turned instantly, hungry for blood. She looked nothing like the queen she had pretended to be. Her hair was disheveled, makeup streaked, hands shaking. As she tried to push through the crowd, someone shouted, "Did you really try to frame a war hero?" Riley flinched like she had been struck. She turned on Travis, eyes blazing with hate and desperation. "This is not over," she hissed under her breath as she passed him. Travis met her gaze calmly. "It is for you," he said. Riley froze, just for a second, as the weight of reality crushed her. No allies. No lies left to spin. Nothing but the truth, and it was heavy enough to bury her. He did not wait to see her crumble further. He lifted Marley into his arms, shielding her from the chaos, and carried her to the truck. As he strapped her into her seat, she looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. "Are we safe now, Daddy?" He kissed her forehead. "We are safe, superstar," he said softly. "We are safe." He closed the door and slid into the driver's seat. Behind him, the courthouse loomed like a broken monument. Ahead of him, the open road stretched wide and free. And for the first time in a long time, Travis Cole drove toward a future that belonged to him, and to her, and no one else. The next hearing was brutal. James Holt had warned Travis ahead of time. Riley's lawyer would fight to salvage what little dignity she had left. He would claw, scratch, throw wild accusations. Travis was ready. He sat tall, hands folded calmly on the table, as Riley's lawyer launched into rapid-fire questions. "Mr. Cole, is it true you have been treated for PTSD?" "Yes," Travis said evenly. "I have been treated. I take care of my health." "And you admit to nightmares, flashbacks, moments of anger?" "I admit to being human," Travis said, his voice steady. "And I have never, not once, hurt my daughter." The lawyer paced, frustration leaking into his voice. "Is it possible that you are simply unaware of how you intimidate those around you?" Travis' mouth curled into the faintest smile. "No," he said. "I am very aware of myself. And I am very aware of the lies that have been spread in this courtroom." Across the aisle, Riley shifted uncomfortably, her cheeks burning with color. James rose smoothly when it was his turn. "Mr. Cole, have you ever been arrested for violence?" "Never." "Have you ever lost control around your daughter?" "Never." "And has any psychological evaluation, by any doctor, ever determined you to be a danger to others?" "No." James smiled thinly, turning to the judge. "No further questions." The courtroom buzzed softly, the tide turning stronger in Travis' favor. Riley stared at her folded hands, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. The truth was not just catching up with her now. It was lapping at her heels, pulling her under. The first sign of Riley's collapse came 2 days later. James called Travis late in the evening. "She tried to withdraw Marley from school," he said, voice tight, without notifying the court. Travis felt the blood drain from his face. "She was going to run." James confirmed it. "Probably out of state. Maybe even out of the country. She knows the investigation is closing in." Travis was already pulling on his jacket, grabbing his truck keys. "Where is she now?" he asked. "We flagged it fast," James said. "The school refused the withdrawal. Court ordered a temporary hold. She cannot leave the county without permission now." Travis exhaled sharply, gripping the steering wheel. Riley was not just desperate. She was dangerous. He thought about Marley, about her trusting smile, her tiny hand in his. She could have disappeared. Just like that. And Riley would have destroyed everything just to save herself. Travis' stomach twisted, fury and fear warring inside him. "She will try again," he said. James agreed. "Probably. But we will be ready." As Travis drove home, the night pressing heavy against the windshield, he realized something bone deep. This was not just about winning anymore. This was about protecting his daughter from a woman who had stopped seeing anything but her own survival. It was about finishing the war, once and for all. The final hearing came faster than expected. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, social workers, even a few curious spectators who had caught wind of the case. Travis stood before the judge, James at his side. Riley was there too, but this time, there was no armor left. No fake tears. No pretty lies. Just a woman unraveling in real time. The judge's ruling was swift and devastating. "Full custody granted to Mr. Travis Cole," she said, voice firm. "Mrs. Cole is hereby restricted to supervised visitation pending further review." Riley gasped, a soft, broken sound that barely escaped her throat. "And furthermore," the judge continued, her eyes hard, "an investigation into perjury and obstruction of justice will proceed immediately." Travis closed his eyes for a heartbeat, the words sinking in like the first real breath after drowning. James clapped his back once, solid and proud. "You did it," he murmured. When Travis opened his eyes, he saw Marley sitting in the gallery, swinging her legs happily under the bench, oblivious to the adult wars raging around her. He smiled at her. A real, full, unguarded smile. The kind of smile he had not worn in months. Riley tried to approach him as the courtroom emptied, tears finally sliding down her face. "Travis, please," she whispered. "This is not fair." He looked at her, and for the first time, he felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, just peace. "You made your choices," he said simply. Then he turned away, walking toward Marley, toward freedom, toward the life they deserved. And behind him, Riley was left with nothing but the wreckage she had built with her own hands. 2 weeks after the verdict, The investigation into Riley's actions had become public. It was not just courtroom gossip anymore. It was front-page news in their small town. The headlines were brutal. Mother fabricates abuse to win custody. Daughter caught in crossfire. Outside the grocery store, Travis heard whispers. People who once gave him cautious glances now stepped forward with quiet apologies. Did not know the whole story, one man mumbled. I am sorry, brother. Really? He nodded, polite but distant. The damage had been done, but at least the truth was walking openly now, something Riley could no longer outrun. Back at the house, Marley was on the porch drawing with chalk, her fingers smudged with color. Want to see? She called out when she saw him. Travis crouched down beside her. She had drawn 3 figures, her, Travis, and someone small with a question mark. What is this? He asked. Marley smiled. It is someone new. You look happy now. Maybe one day, we can be happy with more. Travis stared at the drawing for a long moment, emotion caught tight in his chest. Behind him, the mailbox rattled, another legal envelope. He took it inside, opened it without a word. Inside, confirmation that Riley's supervised visitation rights were suspended indefinitely, pending criminal proceedings. She had tried to twist Marley into a pawn. Now the system had finally seen her for what she was. But Travis did not celebrate. He simply exhaled and went back to sit beside his daughter, who was still coloring like the world had not just shifted beneath them. Family court did not move fast, but it moved with certainty now. Travis sat through the next hearing with quiet confidence, surrounded by documents, witnesses, and a silent strength that could only come from surviving everything. Riley arrived late, looking thinner, more frayed around the edges. Her makeup barely masked the lines of sleepless nights. This time, there were no speeches, no performance. Her new attorney did not argue much. The evidence was stacked too high to climb over. The judge spoke clearly. Full permanent custody is awarded to Mr. Cole. Travis let the words land, solid and final. No visitation privileges for Mrs. Cole until psychological evaluation, cooperation with child services, and formal legal clearance on pending charges. It was not victory he felt. Not exactly. It was something quieter, heavier, like a soldier standing at the edge of a battlefield, knowing the war is done, but still hearing echoes of the last bullet. After the ruling, Riley tried to speak to him again in the hallway. I was scared, she said, voice hoarse. I thought you would take her from me. You took her from me first, he said, and he walked away without looking back. At home, he picked Marley up from school. As they buckled in, she looked up at him. Daddy? Do we get to stay together forever now? He paused for a second. Then he smiled and said, Forever, superstar. Riley's name vanished from headlines as fast as it had appeared, replaced by newer scandals. But the consequences lingered in every corner of her life. She had lost her job at the real estate firm. Her social media accounts were wiped clean, her old friends silent. She lived now in a one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town, alone, surrounded by paperwork, subpoenas, and silence. Travis never once stopped her from trying to recover. But he never looked back. He focused on what mattered, rebuilding a home, not just a house. He painted Marley's room sky blue, let her pick out new sheets with stars on them. He enrolled her in a local art class. They made dinner together. She started sleeping peacefully again. One evening, Marley came downstairs with a framed photo, a picture of her as a baby, held by Travis in uniform. I won this by my bed, she said. Why, sweetheart? Because that is the version of you that never gave up, she said softly. Even when Mommy did. Travis swallowed hard, then kissed the top of her head. That night, as he sat alone on the porch, a breeze sweeping through the trees, he finally let his shoulders relax. The war was over, and while the scars would never fully fade, he had won the one thing that mattered most. His daughter, his peace, his truth. Zane Holloway vanished the way cowards always did, quietly, in the dead of night. It happened a month after the custody ruling. Travis heard about it through Banks, his private investigator, who called late one evening as Travis was cleaning up after dinner. Zane skipped town, Banks said. Left his job. Left his lease unpaid. Rumor is he headed for Arizona, maybe even Mexico. Travis did not respond immediately. He wiped his hands on a dish towel, staring out the kitchen window where Marley chased fireflies across the backyard, her laughter floating through the open screen door. He running from the charges? Travis asked finally. Most likely. Technically, he was not charged yet. Riley was the main target. But once the court findings leaked, his reputation tanked. No company would touch him. Travis leaned against the counter. Good. Not because he wished misery on the man, but because karma did not need his help. It handled people like Zane just fine on its own. Let him run, Travis said. Banks chuckled dryly. Smart move. They ended the call. Travis watched Marley for a long moment before stepping out onto the porch. She ran up to him, holding her cupped hands toward him proudly. I caught one, she said, beaming. He knelt down, peering into her hands, a single glowing firefly, blinking softly like a tiny heartbeat. Careful, superstar, he said. Some things are not meant to be trapped. She giggled and opened her hands, letting the little creature drift up into the darkening sky. And Travis realized something. Freedom was not about escape. It was about knowing when to let go. And he was finally ready to do exactly that. The house felt different now. Not bigger, not emptier, just quieter, better. In the mornings, Travis and Marley made pancakes together, the batter sticking to the counters and the smell of syrup filling the air. No tension, no walking on glass. On Saturdays, they explored farmers' markets, filling brown paper bags with apples and sunflowers. On Sundays, they stayed in pajamas until noon, watching old cartoons and building blanket forts. It was not flashy. It was not perfect. It was real, and it was theirs. One evening, as they sat out on the porch, the last orange streaks of sunset painting the sky, Marley leaned her head against his arm. Are we safe forever now? She asked sleepily. Travis wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Yes, superstar, he said. Forever. And he meant it. He still carried scars, some visible, some buried deep under skin and bone, but they no longer weighed him down. They just reminded him of where he had been, not where he was going. The silence that used to scream at him now cradled him instead, soft and welcoming. He had fought for peace like a man fights for breath underwater. And finally, he had broken the surface. One night, Travis found himself in the old garage, organizing tools he had barely touched since the court battles. A dusty cardboard box sat in the corner, untouched, almost forgotten. He pulled it open. Inside, old photographs, wedding invitations, birthday cards signed with hearts that now felt like lies. He picked up a framed picture, him and Riley on their wedding day, laughing under a shower of rice. For a second, the weight of it hit him. Not grief, not longing, just the sheer loss of what could have been. He set the photo face down on the workbench. Some ghosts never left. They just learned to live quieter in the corners of your mind. He boxed up the memories neatly, sealing the tape with firm hands, and carried the box to the curb. Marley poked her head out the front door. Daddy, are you throwing stuff away? He smiled at her, real and full. Only the things we do not need anymore, he said. She grinned and ran back inside, her laughter filling the night air. Travis stood there for a long moment, the box sitting at the edge of the street, waiting for the morning trash pickup. It was just a box. Just old paper and plastic and dust. It was not his story anymore. His real story was sitting inside, coloring at the kitchen table, dreaming about tomorrow. And that was the only thing that mattered now. It was a regular Thursday morning when Travis noticed the new drawing. He had just poured his coffee, still shaking off sleep, when Marley ran in with paper flapping in her hand. I made something, she said proudly. Travis knelt to her level. Let me see. She handed him the picture, drawn in crayon, bright colors filling the page. A little house, a big sun, 2 stick figures holding hands, and in the corner, a small heart. But this time, no question marks. No third figure waiting to be filled in. Just her. And him. He looked at the bottom corner where she had signed it. Marley plus Daddy equals safe home. His throat tightened. You want to hang it on the fridge? He asked softly. She nodded, grinning. Forever. He taped it up right in the center, clearing off old grocery lists and magnet-held coupons. That drawing, that single page, meant more than any court document ever could. Because it was proof, not just that he had won custody, but that he had rebuilt something stronger than a legal battle. He had rebuilt her trust, and in doing so, rebuilt his own soul. It came out of nowhere. One evening, long after dinner, Travis' phone buzzed with a blocked number. He stared at it for a moment before answering. Hello. There was silence. Then, her voice. Travis. Riley. He stepped outside, closing the door behind him. I know I should not be calling, she said. I wanted to say I am sorry. Her voice was thin, weak, not rehearsed for once. It felt real. I ruined everything, she said. I lied. I broke things. I do not even know why anymore. Travis said nothing. She kept talking. I saw Marley in a photo online, smiling. With you. And I realized she does not look for me in the crowd anymore. I do not even exist to her. Travis' voice came low, steady. She stopped looking for you when you made her lie. Silence again. Then, Riley whispered, do you think she will ever forgive me? Travis did not soften. He did not rage. He just told her the truth. Maybe, but you have to fix yourself first. You do not earn forgiveness. You earn the right to ask for it. And then he hung up, not out of hate, out of peace. It was done. That weekend, Travis and Marley went camping, just the two of them, deep in the state park where the sky opened wide and the air smelled like pine and river water. They built a small fire together, roasted marshmallows, told ghost stories and laughed until their sides ached. Later, as they lay in the tent, stars blinking above the mesh roof, Marley turned to him. Promise you will never leave? Travis looked at her, this little soul who had endured more than most adults and still believed in good things. I promise, he said. Even if the world ends, I will always come back to you. Marley smiled and curled closer to his chest. And for the first time, Travis believed it, too. Not just the words, the future. It did not feel like running anymore. It felt like arriving. Travis had forgotten about the letter. The one he wrote during the worst nights, back when the court hearings were daily war zones, and he thought he might lose everything. He had tucked it in a book high on the shelf. Forgotten it existed. Until Marley found it. She came downstairs holding the worn envelope, eyes wide. Is this for me? Travis sat down slowly. It was, he said, but I hoped I would never have to give it to you. Can I read it? He nodded. She sat beside him, carefully unfolding the paper. The letter was raw, honest. It spoke about fear, love, sacrifice. About how no matter what happened, she would always be his light. When she finished reading, she looked up at him. Did you think you would lose me? He nodded slowly. I did. She took his hand. But you didn't. No, he whispered. I didn't. She tucked the letter into her backpack. I want to keep it forever. And just like that. The letter that was meant to be goodbye became a keepsake of survival. It was one of those memories Travis had buried deep, but tonight it came back in full color. The cold bench. The sound of the judge's voice. Riley's lawyer painting him as broken, dangerous, unstable. And then, the sound of soft footsteps. The courtroom door had creaked open, and there she was. Marley, holding that envelope like it was made of glass. She had walked straight to him, past the bailiff, past the tension, past the fear, and handed him the letter that changed everything. That was the moment the court turned. That was the moment the lies cracked wide open. That was the moment he stopped being the accused and became a father fighting with the truth in his hands. Tonight, he sat on the porch with Marley asleep in his lap, her breath warm against his chest, and he whispered, You saved me. Not the lawyers. Not the court. Not the evidence. Her. A child's truth. A child's love. A letter she was never meant to find, but did. That letter broke the lie and built a future. Years passed. Travis watched Marley grow into a fearless, brilliant young girl, top of her class, fierce in her kindness, unshakable in who she was. Riley never came back. Not physically, not legally. She faded into background noise, the kind of person who lived in silence. Far from the story, she once tried to control. And Travis? He rebuilt a new home, a new life, one not built on fear or survival, one built on choice. He coached Marley's soccer team. He started a local carpentry business. He even began seeing someone new, someone who smiled with both her eyes and her heart. But nothing came close to the bond he had with the girl who once walked into a courtroom carrying a letter that shattered lies. One night, Marley asked him something as they sat under the stars. "Did you ever think you would be happy again?" He looked at her and smiled. "No," he said, "but I never stopped fighting for the chance to be." And here is the truth this story leaves behind. Sometimes, the strongest revenge is not destruction. It is becoming the version of yourself they never thought you could be. Winning back your life is louder than any courtroom. And peace is the loudest victory of all. Now a question for you. What moment in this story hit you the hardest, and why? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one. And hey, if you felt anything real while hearing this story, like the video, subscribe for more true-feeling thriller stories, and share this with someone who still believes in karma, justice, and the truth. Until we meet again in the next revenge-filled roller coaster, take care of your mind, take care of your peace, and most of all, take care of your people. See you soon.